So in this video, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background about how we started, the reality of our dreams to what we were actually able to do, and I guess a few little things that we've learned along the way of the balance of it all. If you've been dreaming about a little hobby farm or you've just got a little hobby farm, when is the right time to start accommodation? So we were kind of thrown into our accommodation, lucky enough to have a couple of established units on our farm when we came into it. We also had a massive big old house that had just started getting Airbnb, but not very well. It was a huge thing. We knew we couldn't make money off of the hobby farm with animals alone. So it was a really good source of income for our little farm. So I'm going to chat to you guys a little bit about what that looked like for us, maybe how you could do it better. Hi, I'm TJ. Welcome to Illusions Farmstay and Vineyard. So when I came into this little farm, I came on as a manager for the first 6 months. And I thought to myself, wow, this is so cool. We'll have this place turned around in 6 months. We had two really cool little 2-bedroom units that had been here for 20 years already. Beautiful, big, old cellar door house. Needed a little bit of refurbishing, but all the bones were there for us, which was really cool. I sort of thought that it would take us 6 months to turn it all around. We're now 3 years into a 10-year plan. The reality kind of kicked us pretty rough. So I think a lot of people get little hobby farms and think, there's so many tiny houses and different options for accommodation. And it is a great source of income. But the reality of it is a lot harder than just sticking something on and cleaning it once a day and having people in and out all the time and making millions of dollars out of it. The upkeep on these sort of things is so much more full on than what you think. Everything's getting used 10 times more than what you use in your own house. But it was the part where we had to figure out where we could spend money to just get it up to scratch, to make enough to at least sustain them, more than actually making money off them. That has kind of taken us about 3 years to get to that stage. So we made a decision to close everything for a couple of weeks. We absolutely spring cleaned like crazy. We took a lot of time to go through literally every inch of every part of the house and the units. We figured out where we had to spend a little bit of money just to get it up to scratch for people. So at that time, it was just basically new plates, new knives and forks, all the basics, new blankets, new sheets for everything. And just enough that we could get through, even if it was going to be 6 months. So nothing was crazy expensive, nothing was luxury. It was just to get basics going. We knew there was not going to be any kind of profit from them for a while. They just sort of started getting a bit of bad rep because they were so run down. So we also knew we had to work pretty hard on that to get it back up to scratch. Another thing that was really important was getting a new system in place. So I think previous to me being here, it was sort of half done. So the bookings were all over the place. So all through different booking platforms. There was no solid website or anything. So the marketing side was really important as well. And because it had got a bit of a bad rap, it was making up for that as well. So a huge part for us was getting our booking platforms up to scratch. Again, we couldn't take away all the bad stuff, but we could start putting in some new stuff. Marketing was huge for us at the beginning of getting it up to scratch, getting new people through. A lot of people that were staying here were people that had stayed here in previous years, but there wasn't a whole lot of new bookings coming in. So the first year we had 2 bookings on the house and we were even excited for that. We thought that was awesome. The units had about 1 booking a fortnight at that stage. And again, we were super pumped up. We thought that was awesome. We definitely had in our heads that we needed it to be more consistent, but we didn't really know how to get that there. It did take about 6 months of really hardcore socials, new website, all of that sort of stuff. The other thing is too, we did this on hardly any budget. We had a couple of $1,000 and that was just to kind of do as much refurbishing as we could. So we had to learn how to do all of the systems ourselves. We couldn't afford to go and get somebody that already knew what they were doing or experienced. So it was really like a month of crash coursing of booking.com, stays, Airbnb. So with our crash course of learning the booking systems, so for us, we use a program called Little Hotelier. which has been awesome to us, low fees, and it integrated with all of the other platforms that were already in place. So when I first came in, there was just everything had to be done manually. So I missed a lot of bookings, or people would turn up at the same time to book into the same accommodation. And it was just so messy. So it took me a crash course of about a month to learn all those systems properly, get rid of some, move some new ones in, and just get everything up to scratch basically on that front. I think that was probably one of our most important things, because that was probably the messiest. So getting that system sorted out was basically vital to how our business would run in the future. And it's always ever changing. It's one of those babies that you have to feed all the time. You can't just set and leave it. It's checking in every single day. It's when something changes on your farm, you might, for us, we quite often have changed beds over or put a new coffee machine in or something. So it's just like this living, breathing thing constantly that you're updating. So I have a regular hour every week that I dedicate to just making sure they're up to scratch and that guests are aware of what we actually have. So there's no surprises. So the thing that probably surprised me the most was guest expectations. So I was so proud of what we had, where we'd come from. We saw how bad it was to how good we got it. It took us still a little time to figure out where our pricing was. So the guest expectations definitely started dictating our pricing. So some parts we were too high, some parts we were too low, and it was finding a bit of a balance in there. So some people would come here and be like, oh my God, this is amazing for the price we're paying. Other guests would come and go, wow, this is all we're getting for what we've paid for. So that was a big one for us. And it probably took us about 12 months to figure out who our guests were and what they were willing to pay for it, what we needed to charge to cover what we were doing was another big one. And when you've laid out a lot of, for us it was only a couple of $1,000s at the time, but it was still a lot of not disposable income to put into it. So we were also like, we've got to make our money back. We've got to make our money back. Where after that sort of, I guess, initial 6-month period, we figured out we're not going to make our money back. We've only actually just got it up to scratch. So that was really interesting, of like figuring out where to kind of take a bit of a cut to what we could provide. Just going for a walk with my pig, Benny. We were shooting foxes last night, so we had to leave one of the gates open, and Benny decided he'd go visit the guests this morning, which they thought was pretty cool. So got his favourite, which is a bucket of cat food. Just being very patient, walking him all the way back down. He's slowing up a little bit, but walking him all the way back down to his pig pen, where he has a great life and he's very happy. But anyway, that's Benny's mini adventure on his own this morning. Hey, Benny boy. Yeah, I know. It's a long walk, isn't it? Hey, it's a very long walk. Shouldn't have to work that hard for your food, should you, mate? Good boy. And the 3 things that I wish I knew when I came into it, which I guess for me, the excitement kind of masked, was 1, you're always on call. Like, this is a lifestyle. It's not a job. It's not 9 to 5. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single time you have guests here. 2, everything takes longer and costs more money than what you think it's going to do. So super simple things. Replacing a kettle, it's $80. So that's half of your income for the, one night's accommodation. And number 3, you can't do everything at once. So that was probably my biggest heartache when I got here, was I thought I could get everything sorted in 6 months. And you just can't. It is just impossible to do everything you need to do and be setting up all the other sides of your hobby farm. So you do have to get really comfy with taking time to do it. And also the balance. So running a hobby farm, for us, our biggest attraction here is our animals, which we're so lucky because we live in our dream with our animals anyway. But there's still so much time in it to make sure everybody's friendly, everybody looks presentable. It sounds silly, but animals are pretty feral. You don't want people walking through crap constantly. There's definitely a reality about it for us with our farm, that it is a small working farm, but you're still doing that side as well, which is basically 3 full-time jobs in one, plus trying to sort out accommodation. So it's just not as simple as jamming somebody in and happy days, they're gone. We put so much time into animals, so they are friendly to everybody. They're used to people being around, so that guests do get that experience as well. You know, talking about putting time into animals, it is so constant. You know, there's cleaning, there's feeding, morning, night, there's injuries, there's sickness. You know, we have bays set up for, you know, unhappy animals. I say to guests all the time too, you know, animals are like people where they just have bad days as well. So we kind of have to be onto that before our guests experience it. Doesn't happen all the time. We try and make everybody as aware as we can about the grumpy goat, but he does now and again get a few people. But it's a lot, you know. We house cows, horses, sheep, guinea pigs, rabbits, dogs, cats, pigs, emu, ducks. We've got everything going on, and it's a lot. Everyone has a different need. Everyone has a different want. It's constantly, you know, making sure we've got enough food. We're not running out of anything. Fences are sorted. Oh my God, fences, my absolute worst nightmare. You know, coops are clean. Hens are happy. It's a lot of work. So balancing those two has been interesting. And that we're not a hobby farm that has regular anything. We have regular nothings. So our guests basically have to fit into our animals' lifestyle. So sometimes that might be at lunchtime that we'll go and do a feed. We might be at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. This morning it was at 6 o'clock because it was so hot today. And so I also love giving that part of our lifestyle to guests, that there's nothing regular about what we're doing, and things happen when they happen and things get done when they get done. The fun part, seeing the mess that everyone's left, seeing if they followed your rules or not. I would spend 30% of my time just cleaning, ready for the next guest to come in. I'd spend 40% of my time doing guest bits and pieces. I don't know how much percent I've got, but then I would say I spent like 80% doing animals. So jamming that all into 100%, that's probably where my baseline's at. Sometimes I make, this is not even joking, I worked out the other day, we had 3 lots of guests in the house over a week, so that's 48 beds in like 6 days. It was not great. So I'm here doing cleaning today. I talk a lot about how our business is just in the valley of death at the moment, where we're so busy, we totally could use some hands on deck, but we really are not making enough to be able to afford to pay people. So it's almost like you just have to work 10 times harder. And sometimes I think too, it's been a real struggle for us to figure out who our client is, because we get so many different people staying at the farm. We have you know, overnighters that love it because it's really cheap and it's quick, and they might be on their way to KI or coming back on the ferry. So they just want somewhere they can jam in for 6 hours sleep. We have young couples that come and just want to hang out with the animals and are not interested in interaction from me, which is, you know, they are animal lovers and they're doing their thing. We have big family groups that want all the attention in the world, and it's kind of hard to piece it's so great that we have all this sort of different range, but it does make it really hard to cater for everybody. Probably more time wise. With my time, there's you know, certain groups that will check in that have been a little bit needy in their messages leading up to what we're doing, and then so I sort of do you know, a bit of prep work to get organised for them, and then they're not interested in, you know, needing me at all. Or the opposite, people that sort of are happy to come and just do their own thing, but then they get here and, you know, they've got a million questions, or they want to do a million things, or they want to pat cows. And yeah, it's an interesting process for us with that. And yeah, I guess we just keep doing it until we've figured it out. That might be never, but. To anyone that's thinking about running a hobby farm or buying a hobby farm and putting accommodation on it, it's so rewarding. It's exciting. You definitely have to be a people person and give up a lot of your time and energy to people, which, you know, 9 times out of 10 is very, very rewarding. but it is so consistent. You are never switching off. Even if you don't have guests there, you've got another million things to do with animals. If your animals are happy, you've probably got a million things to do with guests. The reason I do this is, one, my passion for animals. We have so many old rescue animals that we've been able to give a great life to with no big expectations of what they're supposed to do. I love the challenge of, it's really interesting. I grew up on a little hobby farm like this, and, it looked so easy for my mum and dad to be pottering around doing it, but being in the guts of it, I probably have a new appreciation of how hard they worked for our little farm and our little family. And that I love guests so much. And I also love, probably more than anything, that people that don't get to experience this or didn't grow up with it, or don't have access to it, get to have some access to it, get to come out, hang out with animals. And, we're that really great balance between normal animals and working farm, personality plus animals as well, that love everybody. And, they do their thing and live their best lives, but they're so great with people as well. So I really love that people get to experience that. That's what keeps me going a lot of the time. When you see all these cool little happy faces and, kids that have read about farm animals in books and know all the noises and that sort of stuff, actually getting to interact with them is very cool for me. So I think keeping yourself going emotionally is really important. There's huge burnouts with this sort of stuff because you feel like you fail so many times. I guess for me, I had to kind of turn that around a little bit to realize, yes, there was a fail in something, but what lesson did we learn out of it? For me personally, I hate failing and I hate admitting defeat. So it's not even about what you can do, but for me, it's more about I can't do nothing. So I have to figure out situations. And I think when it rests on you, and it's basically on your shoulders because you're the person that's taken on this dream and everyone's just kind of had to follow along with you, you can't not do it. So I guess you have to have thick skin and know there's always a solution. Whether that's positive or negative at the time, I guess depends on the situation really. So my biggest source of help was friends and family. There's always somebody that is willing to help you. Loads of people, especially farmers, love giving advice. So, and then it's up to you, I guess, to piece together what part of that advice you want to take, what suits you or what suited us personally, was going to work exactly for us. But definitely friends and family. Also, just giving things a crack. And if it doesn't work, you figure out how to do it better the next time. If you're feeling stuck and ready to give up, my biggest advice would be, can you step back from that project? Is it life and death for something? Is it going to affect, the next week or the next 2 weeks? If it isn't and it's something you can leave it for a bit, have a breather from it. And then in the meantime, I think once you get over the frustration of not being able to do something yourself and you can sort of take a minute, I think when you clear your head a little bit from it, then you start opening up to other options, whether it's asking somebody and again, just researching the crap out of it. So at the start, we were always comparing ourselves to other farmstays. It was a bit of research as well, what was working for other people, what wasn't working, what people had to offer. So probably more of an industry research than anything, but you can very quickly get in that trap of compare and despair. So you are never feeling like you're getting there. It still goes back to everyone starts somewhere. Like no one just lands this picture perfect, fence is beautiful, all the animals are acting properly, great accommodation that's, well run and that sort of stuff. There's always bits and pieces in there that need improving, or don't work for you and what you actually want. That's probably another one for us, is that what we wanted was not quite what everybody else had, or vice versa. I guess the drive for us to be better and do better all the time was, I guess, where we got our motivation from. It wasn't necessarily being like anybody else. It was finding where, I guess, our hearts fitted into what we were doing. So we didn't want to do something just because everyone else was doing it. That was what was working for them. We had to actually we have to enjoy what we're doing. Otherwise, at the end of the day, for a lifestyle hobby farm, what else are you working for? There's not very much money in it. So we found out over time, and it did take us a while to figure out who our guest was here. I think at the start we were trying to sell to everybody and we wanted to be appealing to everybody. So, we did stuff in let's use the main house as an example. We did stuff in the main house, so it looked really cool, and we put some really good quality furnishings in and that sort of stuff. But we quickly found out our house accommodation was more about being able to fit big groups in. They don't care if they've got some mattresses on the floor to fit a couple of extra kids in. They want to go and see the farm and experience the farm side of stuff. So I guess too, it was our guests want our time. They want to understand the farm. They like knowing all the background of it more than how pretty it looks. They're not staying at a luxury resort overlooking, a beautiful ocean, sipping cocktails on the deck. And the same in the units. It was always sort of set up to be a budget accommodation, but we wanted it to be a little bit nicer, but very practical. I guess we want everyone to feel comfortable, and that's what we've discovered with guests. They just want to come away and feel comfortable. We're so lucky with our guests here. I would say 9 out of 10 groups that come are just so amazing. They absolutely get our farm for what it is. We quite often get left little gifts, wine, chockies, beautiful little notes. We had some people stay just before Christmas that left a box of beautiful fresh food for the animals and chicken necks in the freezer for the dogs. And I also love when people give the house a bit of a clean before they go, so our cleaners don't have to work so hard. A lot of our ethnic guests will leave beautiful food in the fridge for us. Me being a foodie, I often comment on how good the house smells when we have some of those guests in. So they'll quite often leave us beautiful little prezzies in the fridge, which we absolutely love. Being on a small scale and real people, it's pretty cool. We'd love you guys to follow along with our YouTube journey, see the shit show that we have been getting our development in motion. We're about to put in some new units, new accommodation, and a new 40-person restaurant and new little cellar door.